Joining me now from Scottie Resources is Thomas Mumford, now President and CEO. Welcome. Now, Tom, we've got to start with the title bump. I know there's been a little bit of a rejig with the exec team. Can you give us a bit of the lay of the land? And as I understand it, rejigs like this are very indicative of a company going through an inflection point of growth, as we know Scottie is, going from development through to hopefully production insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been an exciting year for us so far. The company decided to make some changes to the management structure just to kind of guide us through this next stage, this inflection point, as you put it. So we're transitioning from an exploration company to a developer. The previous CEO is now executive chair. We brought in a new dedicated CFO to the project, and then I've become president and CEO just to kind of steward this project forward here, just a better match of all the skill sets that we all have.
So there's been a great flurry of news flow as you guys are making those steps through development and permitting. But one area I'd love to drill into is your negotiations with the First Nations people there around the Scottie Gold Mine Project. I understand you've reached a capacity funding agreement, which will go towards the impact benefit agreement that's necessary. Could you please explain to us the lay of the land with what's required and how you're tracking through it? Because I know it's of relevance, of course, across Canada and in Australia, but with variations.
Yeah, it's an important part of this process with permitting. We a few months ago just released that we realized we no longer need to do an environmental assessment. Essentially, we have an existing mine permit, and so it's an amendment to that mine permit is the process that we're going to go through to permit this project to get it back into production. We've been partnering with the First Nations in the area. The Nisga'a Nation is one of the larger nations that we deal with. We also have the Skikam Nation as well. And so moving that relationship forward has been a main priority for us. They're well ingrained with what we're doing, the decision making, and how we're approaching the permitting of the project, which we'll do it with the provincial government. And this capacity funding allows us to support the First Nations to review all the documentation and make sure that they're able to have enough resources to complete this and kind of track along with it as we go forward with the permitting. And another important process with that is the IBA, the Impact Benefit Agreement. So that this sets enough resources in both of ours and their hands in order to facilitate that IBA. And so that'll be a major point of accomplishment once we get to that.
Can you give us a bit of a sense of the timeline of this process? I understand you first engaged with them around Q2 last year.
Yeah, that's formal engagement. We've been dealing with the Nisga'a for many years. 15 to 20% of our workforce over the last 7 years has been First Nations in the area. So we were well acquainted with them. This was kind of more of a formality now and kind of going through the diplomatic process to, formalize these agreements with the Nisga'a. And that started in Q2 last year. The IBA, we hope to have in sometime in 2027 to be there to support the permitting initiative when we submit our final permit to the provincial government for approval.
Thank you for your insights into that, Thomas. It's always great to learn more about the nuance of negotiations with First Nations peoples on mining projects, which is so important. We now need to catch up on some news that, it came out in March, but I think it definitely bears drilling into. This phase 2 ore sorting study, which was very positive and I understand is feeding into your feasibility works, which are now underway after a PEA last year.
Yeah, so we completed our PEA in October last year and, made the decision that we went right into feasibility. Given the unique position of our company and having this DSO, this direct shipping ore project where we don't have a mill, we don't have a tailings facility. A lot of the infrastructure is already in place from past operations in the area, allows us to have this relatively simple project to operate. And so we've moved right into feasibility with that. One of the components of the PEA was ore sorting. So the upgrade of a product prior to shipping. So we envisioned, crushing the rock that comes out of the mine down to about 3 inches in size or less. And then that's what ships out. And so taking that 3-inch rock, running it through an ore sorter and trying to remove as much of the waste as possible dramatically lowers the amount of waste rock that we're shipping. It boosts the grade, gives us higher payability when we ship it. And so really making sure that we really understand the ore sorting characteristics of our various deposits is really important. So we finished phase 2, which was our first phase on a full scale machine. So we did it through both an XRF and an XRT machine. One was in Saskatchewan, the other was in South Africa, and ran it through that and really reaffirmed the results that we had in our initial study. And so now we're actually embarking on a phase 3 ore sorting study, which will better align to our mine grades that we were predicting that came out of that PEA. So we're in the middle of sampling right now. So we've got staff up at site, resampling core that we drilled in 2024 and 2025 to gather another, 800 plus kilogram sample to run through another full scale ore sorting machinery.
And when will we be getting you back to deliver us those results? How are those next steps and milestones looking?
Yeah, I think that's kind of late summer, early fall that we're expecting to get the results from that. You know, that's kind of our proxy on that. Could be a little bit later. The last year was a little bit delayed on that. But the other thing that's upcoming is we're embarking on our largest drill program ever. So we're set to drill almost 50,000 meters this year. We'll be releasing, in the coming weeks, kind of exactly what that plan looks like. But we're fully financed at this point, so we've got over $30 million in the bank right now, ready to hit the ground as soon as the snow starts melting just a little bit more. So probably start of June we'll be starting to push the road in and start drilling.
Another year of more drilling than ever. The momentum does not let up. Thomas, thank you so much for keeping us in the loop on Scottie. Please come back often and keep us going.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.